Hey everybody, so let's get inspired to create our beautiful paintbrush with our kind of our Zentangle design background. And I'm going to go through part of it with you, and then the rest I think you can do on your own. So I'm going to start in Sharpie. You can of course start in pencil. The first thing we want to do is create our paintbrush. And if you look closely, it's really a rectangle and a rectangle. So I'm going to come in off the side like this. I'm going to draw my line for my handle. Coming in, it creates a little bit more of a dynamic angle. I'm going to go across, across, up, up, and that's going to be the wooden handle of my brush. And then I'm going to make that ferrule part where the metal holds the bristles on. And from there, the bristles. Now I see that I made this a little bit longer on this side, so I'm just going to give a little bit more of a detail over there. And so I'm going to come up. This is going to be where the paint brushes are, the bristles of the brush are. And then from there, I'm going to remember I want to put the bristles on. But before I do that, I'm going to make the start of where the paint is going to be dripping. And I'm going to make it a little loopy and round. Make it as big as you want. Here we go. All the way over to the side, and that's where the color is going to start. So I'm going to add all this is where the bristles are. So I'm going to just make them different lengths. We know it's all bristles. It's just giving a hint that the bristles are underneath there. So you're going to go put some close together, some further apart. You can draw them all the way down if you want. You can draw just part of them, because the real emphasis will be on the color of the paint. So I look like I need a few more spots. I'll go fit it in there. And I can always go back and add some more afterwards. But that is basically my handle, my ferrule, my bristles. I might add some, just a little extra emphasis here. Sometimes they have these little screws holding them on. Maybe I'll add some of those, and I'll focus on that with color afterwards. So what you're going to notice is where to begin in color. And so in color, what I want to do is I want to be able to make it look like it's dripping and give it a little bit of shininess, like it's wet. So I'm going to take my color, and let's say I started with blue, and I'm going to make it come to about here. I'm going to make just some spots where I'm going to leave the shine mark. You don't have to make it a perfect circle, just like that. And then I'm going to fill it in. Now I don't want it to be too stripy, so I'm going to go a little bit beyond in some places, just working my way around those little shine marks. It'll give it a little extra pop of detail, making it look a little more realistic. A little bit closer there. Maybe I should have made those little shine marks a little bigger for you to see. But really it is just a circle left blank. So you can see how it's starting to give it more of that illusion. You can do that with the other colors as well, but definitely that first layer of color that you're doing, you're going to want to make sure that you show the shine. All right, so from there, I'm going to make some go higher, different lengths, before I start blending a new color. I happen to have a lot of color choices available to me. You can decide where or how long you want this to be, depending on how many colors you're going to put in the brush. But if I'm going for a couple, I probably would go a little bit higher. If I'm going to use more colors, then I could go a little bit lower. But the idea for you, and I'm just going to show you in Sharpie, I did it in pencil here, is that you want it to look like two parallel lines, as if you pulled, make sure I'm doing it right, pull the color along onto your paper, and then you just spread it out. So your next color could be where it just blends right in. You can overlap, you can just kind of pull it along. You're going to follow along that line, different heights. Now you could use that technique of blending that we've done before where you wet it. That's completely up to you. You can just leave it in marker like this. You could add some shine to it as well for that next layer if you want. So if it's a little streaky or wet. And you're going to do that all the way to the end with whatever colors you choose. And it doesn't matter if they're like in order of Roy G. Biv. You can definitely go off course a little. I'm going to actually start this right here and let that slide up. So you get the idea of what I would like to see you try in color. You certainly can come up with your own ideas. This is just a launching point for creating that paintbrush looking like it's going right over the page. And then just to do this background effect, it's going to give it a nice contrast between the black and white and the color, where the emphasis is really here on the color. It's also going to make this look like it comes up while that recedes back. So it usually works better to kind of keep with whatever kind of pattern you're doing. I just did the repetition of these curved arched lines. And so I just kind of went along the edge and I started just in different places to get started. You can add another one. You can add one down here. And then you just keep growing. And so once I reach like 5 or 6, then I just make another one. I just try to spread them out so that it would give me a good starting point. It's very, very meditative to keep on the same repetition of patterns. So I started here. Obviously this is not finished. It's not lending itself to that contrast or that emphasis. It's a little bit distracting until I get doing some more. So I'm going to put another one here. So I just kind of laid it out at first to give myself an idea of where I'd want it to be. And then I could start layering another one. I do the same thing. Try not to do what I did where I went over a little bit like that. And keep going and starting wherever you want. You could start here. You could even turn it a little bit if you want. But try to do a decent number. Like that would not look like enough. And I could always stop where I felt comfortable. It's going to give it almost like that look of remember Rainbow Fish when we were making the scales, or with the dragons? You are just repeating that. It's kind of creating this really nice, interesting, repetitive background. And so you could try something different. You might have a better idea. You might want to try out any number of things. But that's the whole idea of how we're going to get started. But it's a nice kind of graphic piece where there's this bold pop of color and that kind of black and white contrast. You could keep this black and white. You can see here that I used a little bit of gray and I used a little bit of brown to color it in. Really up to you. The idea is that this paintbrush is kind of dragging paint across. So I'll be curious to see what you guys come up with. You're always so creative. Bye.